I want to take some time today to tell you why it is so important that you do not push yourself over the point of fatigue. Now, as we know, there are two different types of fatigue with multiple sclerosis. The first type is primary fatigue. In this type of fatigue, there is no reason that you are tired. You didn't go out last night, you didn't get a bad night's sleep, you haven't been active or exercising, you are just so tired that you maybe can't even open your eyelids. And the second type of fatigue is secondary fatigue. This means you did something that caused the fatigue. Maybe you did go out last night, or you got a bad night's sleep, or you over-exercised. Whatever it might be, there is a reason that you are fatigued. And I want you to remember that pushing yourself in either forms of fatigue is not good. But hopefully that's not new information. Hopefully you already knew that. But I want to explain to you why it's not good. Because there is a huge side effect that you may not know that comes from pushing yourself into fatigue. And it has to do with the brain. When you push yourself into fatigue, you are causing your brain to associate that task that you did with fatigue. So if every time you're walking, you push yourself to the point of fatigue and then you do sit down, your brain is associating walking with fatigue. So it thinks every time you walk, that means you're supposed to get tired because that's what you do every time. Or if you're making a meal and every time you make a meal, you get fatigued and then you have to sit down, your brain says, oh, Gretchen's about to make a meal, this means she has to get tired. And it will actually make you become more tired because it's associating the two things. It's very similar to Pavlov's experiment, where he was trying to get the dog to respond to the stimulus before the food. So just as a brief recap of his experiment, he would give a dog food, but right before he gave the food, he played a metronome or a bell of some sort. And eventually, over time, as soon as the dog heard the bell, the dog would start to salivate. And it wasn't salivating over the food anymore, it was salivating over the bell. And that's what your brain is doing. If you are going to walk a long distance and every time you push yourself to the point of fatigue, as soon as you walk, your brain's going to start to feel fatigued and then it's going to make your body fatigued because every time you push yourself to walking, you get tired. So why would you not be fatigued when you're walking? So one of the worst side effects from pushing yourself into fatigue, whether it's when you're exercising or just doing a simple day-to-day task that should be easier, but it's not, so you push yourself into the point of fatigue, is that you are actually associating fatigue with that activity. And the whole point is that we want to become less fatigued. And you can do that through exercise, but if your brain is conditioned to become fatigued with these things that you're doing over and over again, then there's only so much exercise can do. So I am highly going to encourage you to notice the moments when you're getting fatigued from an activity. And as soon as you feel fatigued, stop. And before you do it again, remember how long it took you to get fatigued. Next time you do that activity, stop early. So if every time I walk around 15 minutes, I start getting tired and bad quality, well, I'm going to change that habit and I'm going to stop myself around 10 minutes. Even if I have no signs of fatigue at that moment, I'm going to stop early so fatigue doesn't come in, rest, and then continue on. Using this strategy on stopping and taking breaks before fatigue kicks in can have a huge impact on how your body moves throughout the day and how fatigue affects you. So I would highly encourage you to stop more often, take more breaks, and reduce the amount of fatigue that you are causing yourself. I do just want to point out that this theory might not work as well with primary fatigue. The whole point of primary fatigue is that you didn't do anything to cause it. So on those days, you won't be able to stop early, but just lay low and don't try to push yourself on those days so that fatigue doesn't worsen. I hope you find this video helpful, and if you have interest in learning more about fatigue and things that you can do right now to help reduce your fatigue, then go check this video out. And if you enjoyed this content, please remember to press the thumbs up button, press the subscribe button, and share with a friend. And I'm really curious, I'd love for you to comment below with if you have primary fatigue, secondary fatigue, or both types of fatigue. 80% of people with multiple sclerosis will suffer from severe fatigue at some point on their journey with MS, and 100% of people with MS will experience some level of fatigue. It is one of the most common symptoms, and I hope you know that you are not alone.